I made my highest amount of dividend income ever in the month of June, so in this video, we're going to be going over exactly how much I made and taking a deep dive into my portfolio by jumping into my do-it-yourself investor toolkit. We're going to be looking at things like my investment dashboard, dividend calendar, daily dividend calendar, as well as a couple of other things. So if you'd like to be able to download this spreadsheet and join a community of dividend investors, then you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description. I'd also like to say thank you to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Let's go ahead and jump into the analysis. So the first thing I'll go ahead and do is I'll zoom in a little bit. Let's take a look at this portfolio value. You can see the portfolio value currently sitting at $84,762. It was a little bit higher just a few days ago, but at the time of this recording, the past few days in the market have been a down market. But even then, I'm still up when you include my dividends reinvested. I'm up around 11.37%, so that's a pretty nice gain. If we start to dig into the charts, the first one we will look at is allocation. Now, if you watched last month's portfolio update video, you'll notice that my cash position was a little bit lower. That's because I added quite a bit of capital to some existing positions last month, but this month I actually didn't add any capital to my portfolio. I just increased my cash position. A lot of the companies on my watch list continue to jump up in their share price, which is good for my portfolio. As you can see, the value is up quite a bit, but it didn't really lead to any buying opportunities. Now again, I did add a lot of capital to my positions last month, so this month I just decided to increase my cash position. You can see my total holding still sitting at 35. I'm still trying to get this closer to around 30 or 25. That is a long process, but I'll talk about that just a little bit later. Now if we come here and see my cost and market value chart, I'll blow it up just a little bit again. One of the things you'll notice right away is obviously SCHD is my biggest position, but we also have companies like Microsoft where the market value is far higher than their costs, obviously leading to some really nice gains. Now another really important chart we need to glance at is my growth chart. Now, one of my positions that has absolutely taken off is Broadcom, stock ticker AVGO. I've made a couple stock analysis videos, and around 5 or 6 months ago, I made a video talking about how it's trading at a great value, and I'm now up around 67 to 68% on this position, so that is a massive gain. You can see some of my other big winners. We also have EPD, I'm up around 21%, Coca-Cola almost 30%, Microsoft around 26%. We have SJM, I'm up almost 31%, Starbucks, Lowe's, we have JP Morgan, we have Visa, we have Caterpillar, and then we also have Apple where I'm up around 33.55%. Now, a couple of my losers, we need to look at those as well. Regions Financials, I'm down around 13.5%, Verizon around 24%, 3M, 23%, Walgreens 26.8, and then we also have MPW. Now this is a very small position in my portfolio, but I am still down around 28%, but again, that's less than 1% of my entire portfolio. Let's go ahead and dig into that allocation chart. I'll blow this up, and again, right away you'll see SCHD, by far my largest position, making up around 22.2%. And this is actually a position that will increase a little bit in the coming months because something I plan to do is to take these two other ETFs that I have, sell out of these positions and put it into SCHD. I have SPY, SPY, and then I have a Vanguard fund. Again, I'm planning on selling out of these positions and putting it into SCHD. Now, other than this, my largest position in my portfolio is Microsoft, sitting at almost 13%. This was already a fairly large position in my portfolio, but because their share price has run up so much over the past couple of months, it now makes up around 13% of my portfolio. We also have Realty Income, now makes up around 6% of my dividend portfolio. That's a pretty large amount as well. We come over here, you can see AVGO around 3%. We also have Altria Group around 3.1%, but other than that, everything is fairly well diversified. We also have Lowe's sitting at around 3.3%, but again, most of these positions are around 2.5%. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Now, it's obviously important to look at your stock allocation, but you also want to look at your allocation by industry. You don't want to be overexposed to any one industry too much because that's going to provide too much risk for your portfolio. So again, one of the things you'll notice, ETFs make up around 35.5% of my portfolio. We have technology around 22%, consumer defensive 8.3%, real estate a little bit over 10%, and then we have financials slightly over 10% as well. We also have consumer cyclical at 6.2%. Then we have a couple of small positions. You can see healthcare at 3.2%. We have industrials 1.6%, communication services 1.4%, and we also have energy at 1%. Now, the last thing we have on here is my future portfolio outlook, and this is something we'll talk about just a little bit later in the video, but this is also something I'm very excited about, so go ahead and stick around for that. But let's go ahead and jump into what everyone wants to see, and that is my dividend dashboard. Let's go ahead and talk about how much dividend income I made in the month of June. And again, I'm happy to say it was by far my highest amount ever. If you look right here, you can see in the month of June, I made $329.33 in dividend income. That is a huge milestone for me. My previous high was sitting at around $216.32. So again, that is a huge milestone for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, it's great to see those numbers start to climb up, but keep in mind, I didn't add any capital to my portfolio this month, but I did reinvest all dividends. So even though I didn't put my personal capital in, I did have $330 that were reinvested back into my portfolio. And a large part of this was because of my payment from SCHD, but I'll touch on that in just a moment. But again, if we look at my portfolio value over time, you can see when I started tracking it back in February of 2021, I was around $7,649. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you can really see my portfolio value continue to climb over time. My expected yearly dividend income is now sitting at around $2,756, all-time dividend income almost at $3,000, and my forward-looking average monthly dividends now sitting at around $230. That is continuing to climb up, which is really exciting to see. We can see my portfolio dividend yield sitting right at my target, actually right at 3.5%. Now, another chart that is about allocation that I think is extremely important to understand is your dividend income by industry. You want to know what industries your dividend income is coming from, because if you're getting it all from one industry, that's a major risk. If that industry were to do poorly, maybe they would cut dividends and really affect your portfolio. So again, you can see ETFs make up around 33% of my dividend income. We have financials around 14%. We have consumer defensive around 14.4%. Real estate, although it only makes up 10% of my portfolio, it makes up 16.7% of my dividend income. So that's interesting. We also have communication services around 3.5%, technology around 9.9%, energy 2.5%, and consumer cyclical 3.8%. And if we look at my dividend yield on cost chart, for the most part, I focus on investing into quality dividend growth companies that will increase the amount they pay in dividends over time. So you can see a lot of these positions right here, but I also have a couple of high yielding positions, not many at all. I do have a very small position in Jeppy, and my dividend yield on cost for that position is sitting at around 11.41%. And then I have, again, like I mentioned, a very small position in MPW, where the dividend yield on cost is sitting at around 12.78%. But again, other than that, I focus mainly on dividend growth companies, and I have a couple of dividend kings and dividend aristocrats thrown in there as well. Now, the last chart right here is my dividend income by individual stock. Now, SCHD is by far my largest dividend payer, sitting at $680.56. My other big dividend payers are going to be Realty Income at around $256. Then we have MO around $228. But again, other than that, it's all fairly well diversified, as you can see from the chart. Now let's go ahead and jump into my dividend calendar. But first, I want to say thank you to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video, which you can get a 14-day free trial to at my link in the description. Seeking Alpha is one of my absolute favorite stock investing research platforms for a multitude of reasons. A couple of things that I use it for are the watch list. You can see I've built out a watch list to keep up with a lot of companies that I'm interested in watching, and then we can do really in-depth research on any company. So take Visa, for example. We can see the summary, we can see things like 1-year, 5-year, 10-year trend lines, we can see ratings from analysts, we can see all the financial statements, of course, we can see the latest quarter's earnings. One of my favorite things to look at are the dividends, which gives a very in-depth breakdown. We can see our dividend summary, we can see things like dividend yield, dividend growth, dividend safety, and dividend history. We have valuation metrics, we have growth metrics, and profitability metrics, and then a few other things right here. But one of my other favorite things are the charting. I can easily add metrics to this chart, or I can compare it to other companies, which makes it a very powerful tool. So again, thank you to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video. You can get a 14-day free trial to them at my link in the description. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump back into the video. And if you aren't using a dividend calendar to track your dividend income, then you definitely need to be, for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, it's going to show you how much you're making in dividend income from each position. It's going to show you your monthly dividend income, but more importantly, it's going to be able to show you how your dividend payments are increasing time after time. So for example, you can see my position in Realty Income pays month over month, and because they constantly increase the amount they pay in dividends, and I reinvest dividends and add capital, you can see how those dividend payments have increased for quite some time now. Back here when I started tracking in January of 2022, my dividend payment from them was around $5.83, and you can see how it continued to grow over time, and now my most recent dividend payment from them was $21.36. So again, really cool to be able to see how those dividend payments have grown over time. Now let's go ahead and jump into seeing how much dividend income I made from each position. And you can see in the month of June, I made $7.16 from IBM, $18.19 from Johnson & Johnson, $1.07 from KHC, $21.96 from one of my largest positions, Microsoft, one of my favorite companies in my portfolio, $21.36 from Realty Income, $3.02 from SJM, $6.23 from 3M, $3.06 from Walgreens Boots Alliance, $22.89 from my Vanguard ETF, Bank of America paid me around $14, almost $10 from Domino's, and around $2.34 from INTC. That's a pretty small position in my portfolio. But I also got $8.62 from JEPI, and my next dividend payment was from Target. That was $9.85. And then we have another company that I really like. I wish it was a larger position in my portfolio, but that's Visa. They have a low starting dividend yield, but a phenomenal history of dividend growth, and they paid me $1.81 in the month of June. Now, the next position that paid me was T. Rowe, and they paid me $11.22. And then I received a $14.02 payment from ABGO Broadcom. And then my largest dividend payment of all time was recently paid out from SCHD. You can see it was $154.36. Now, when we jump over to my daily dividend calendar, this is just another way to track your dividend income. And basically what it allows you to do is to see exactly what days you were paid dividend income and how much it was. So in the month of June, you can see on June 1st, I made around $7.35, around $27 on the 6th, $22 on the 8th. The 12th was a good date, around $26, $21.36 on the 15th. Then we had a little bit of a period where I didn't receive any dividend payments, but on the 27th is when I received that massive payment from SCHD, $154. And then the 29th and 30th, both really solid days as well, $34.11, and then nearly a $40 day. Now, when you compare the 2022 highest day at $42.11, it got absolutely obliterated from that payment from SCHD. So again, really exciting to see this progress over time. I think the dividend snowball is really starting to kick in. Now, the last thing that I want to do is I want to look at my portfolio projection, because the goal of my dividend portfolio is to one day be able to live off of the dividend payment. So I think projecting out where you'll be in the future is really important, because it lets you know what you need to be doing to achieve your goals. So you can see I plugged in my starting portfolio size of around $80,000. I'm assuming a price growth rate of 7% and a dividend growth rate of 7%. Now, dividend ETFs over the past decade have had a much better track record than both of these projections here, but I do want to be a little bit conservative. You can see I'm also projecting a starting dividend yield of 3.5%, and based off of this data, I'm projecting out 30 years into the future what my portfolio will look like. And if we jump back over to my investment dashboard and scroll down, that's basically what we're looking at right here. You can see we can toggle between reinvesting dividends and not reinvesting dividends, but I actually want to dig into this just a little bit deeper, and we can do that by jumping onto my live off of dividends analysis. So this chart right here shows a black line that is my cost of living, and the red line is my monthly dividend payments. So when the red line crosses the black line is when I'll be able to live off of dividends, and as the months go by, this starts to move backwards and backwards, meaning I'm getting closer to living off of dividends. So let's go ahead and zoom in just a little bit and see exactly how far out I am from living off of dividends. So watch for this to change to yes. So when I scroll down, you can see I'm still 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, and right here you can see about 18 and a half years, I should be able to live off of dividend payments because my monthly dividends surpass my monthly cost of living. And do take note, your monthly cost of living increases over time due to the fact that inflation compounds over time like any other investment. That's something a lot of people get wrong when calculating how much they need to live off of dividends. And if we jump over to my investment dashboard, we can see a high level picture. Yearly dividends in about 5 years should be a little over 10,000. In 15 years, 34,800. And then this is where things get crazy. In 30 years, my dividend income will be over $123,000 with a portfolio value of around $3.53 million. So there you go. That's exactly how much dividend income I made in the month of June from a portfolio value of around $80,000. There were a ton of exciting updates in today's video. And again, if you'd like to join a community of dividend investors and be able to download any of the spreadsheets you see on my channel, then you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description. Again, thank you so much to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.